You think you can just throw me out like I'm nothing?" Jamal's voice echoed through the cabin, his hands trembling with pure rage, eyes blazing with fire. Passengers froze, caught between shock and curiosity. The flight attendant, cold and unbothered, sneered back at him. "Sir, you're disturbing the flight. Collect your things and leave." Jamal took a step closer, his chest heaving with fury. "Disturbing? I paid for this seat. I served this country. You think you can just treat me like garbage?" The crowd murmured. Uneasy glances exchanged. A tall, suited businessman smirked and whispered to his wife, "Typical. Always causing trouble." Jamal's fists clenched tighter. "What did you just say? Say it to my face." The flight attendant raised her hands dismissively. "Security is on the way. You're done." Jamal looked around desperately, his eyes welling up. "Why? Because I'm black? Because I don't belong in first class?" A tense silence gripped the cabin, hearts pounding as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Because in that moment, everything was about to change. The room was suffocatingly quiet. Jaden stood there, his fists clenched, his jaw set tight, trying to hold back the firestorm boiling inside him. The dim light from the single flickering bulb barely illuminated the run-down apartment. The paint on the walls was peeling, revealing years of neglect, and the faint sound of sirens howled in the distance. He took a deep, shaky breath, trying to steady his trembling hands. Jaden was a man of principle, fiercely loyal, a father who would walk through fire for his daughter. At 35, his broad shoulders bore the weight of the world. His skin, deep and rich, shone with a sheen of sweat, his sharp, determined eyes reflecting both pain and resolve. Tonight, those eyes burned with betrayal. Across from him, his wife, Keisha, sat hunched over on the worn-out sofa, her face buried in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Their little girl, Maya, just 8 years old, peeked from behind the bedroom door, her wide eyes glistening with fear. "You did this to a—" Jaden roared, his voice cracking with a mix of rage and agony. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. The notice, bright red letters screaming, "Eviction," lay crumpled on the floor, mocking him. They had nowhere to go, no family willing to take them in, no money to cover rent. Keisha looked up, her cheeks streaked with tears. "I tried, Jaden. I thought I could fix it. I thought. You thought!" He cut her off, his voice like a blade slicing through the air. "You lied to me. You told me you paid the rent. You said we were okay." Keisha's lip quivered as she struggled to find her words. I didn't want to disappoint you. I didn't want you to feel like a failure." Jaden turned away, rubbing his face with his hands, feeling suffocated by the guilt and frustration. He had been working double shifts at the auto shop, pulling 14-hour days just to keep them afloat. Yet it wasn't enough. He wasn't enough. The landlord had been ruthless, demanding payment or threatening to call the cops to force them out. Jaden had pleaded, begged for more time. He never thought Keisha would lie to him about something so crucial. His heart pounded as thoughts swirled through his mind, blaming himself, blaming her, blaming the world for pushing them into this corner. He glanced back at Maya, who was still frozen in the doorway, eyes wide with fear. His heart shattered at the sight. No child deserved to feel this kind of instability. No child should wonder where they would sleep the next night. He knew he couldn't afford to lose control, not in front of her. He took a step closer to Keisha, his voice softer but still strained. "Why didn't you just tell me the truth? Why would you hide this from me?" Keisha's shoulders trembled as fresh tears fell. "I was scared you'd leave, scared you'd think I was useless. I wanted to handle it on my own, just this once." Silence fell between them, thick and suffocating. Jaden's rage subsided, replaced by a hollow ache. He looked at his wife, the woman who had stood by him through thick and thin, and realized that fear drove them both. Fear of losing each other, fear of admitting weakness. He slowly sat down next to her, his voice barely above a whisper. "Keisha, we're supposed to be a team. You don't have to carry this alone. We're in this together." She turned to him, eyes filled with regret and desperation. "I know. I didn't want you to see me as a burden." Jaden reached out, pulling her into a tight embrace. He felt the tension in her body ease, just a little, as he whispered, "We'll figure it out. We always do." A soft cry came from the doorway. Maya, unable to hold back any longer, rushed into her parents' arms, burying her face against her father's chest. Jaden wrapped his arms around both of them, squeezing tight, as if holding them could shield them from the harsh reality outside. But he knew this wasn't over. The threat of being thrown out still loomed. He needed a plan, a miracle. As the night stretched on, Jaden sat awake, his mind racing, trying to piece together a solution. No matter how impossible it seemed, he refused to give up on his family. And as dawn broke, washing the room in a pale, cold light, he knew one thing for certain. He would not let them be broken by this. He would fight, scrape, and claw his way out of this mess if it meant giving his daughter a sense of security. As the morning light painted shadows on the cracked walls, Jaden's resolve hardened. He would face whatever came next, together with his family, and no one, not even fate, would take that away from him. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have. Jaden sat at the rickety kitchen table, his head buried in his hands. The eviction notice lay crumpled on the floor like a defeated soldier, the bold red letters still visible from where he sat. His mind was a tornado of thoughts. Rent overdue, bills piling up, Maya's terrified eyes from the night before. He couldn't get her face out of his mind. Keisha shuffled into the room, her eyes swollen from crying all night. She placed a shaky hand on Jaden's shoulder, but he didn't move. He couldn't. His pride was shredded, his spirit crushed. "Baby," Keisha whispered, almost too scared to disturb his silence. "Maybe we can go to the shelter downtown, just for a few days, until we figure something out." "A shelter?" Jaden snapped, his voice raw with frustration. He stood up abruptly, knocking the chair over. "You think I'm dragging my daughter into a damn shelter? No way, not happening." Keisha took a step back, wiping her cheeks. "I'm just trying to help. We don't have many options left." Jaden gritted his teeth, fighting back the tears burning his eyes. I will not let this happen. I promised Maya she'd always have a home. I'm not breaking that promise. Not now. Not ever." He grabbed his worn-out jacket from the coat hook and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The chill of the morning bit into his skin, but it didn't matter. He needed air, space, anything to clear his head. Walking aimlessly through the neighborhood, he glanced at familiar faces, people who used to look up to him. Now they barely met his gaze. The whispers were louder than ever. "That's Jaden, right? Didn't his wife lose her job?" "Yeah, heard they're getting evicted. Shame. Always thought they had it together." His jaw clenched tighter, fists balled at his sides. Pride kept him from asking for help, but desperation clawed at his resolve. As he walked past the corner store, old Mr. Harris waved him over. "Son," Harris rasped, leaning against the doorframe. "You look like hell. Everything okay?" Jaden forced a smile. "Yeah, just rough week, you know." Harris eyed him knowingly. "Ain't no shame in admitting when you're down. I heard about the notice. You need cash? I could loan you some." Jaden swallowed the lump in his throat. The offer was tempting, more than tempting, but pride flared up again. "Thanks, but I can't. I gotta fix this on my own." Harris just nodded, giving him a pat on the shoulder. "You're a good man, Jaden. Just remember, pride don't feed your family." As he continued walking, Jaden's mind raced with possibilities. Odd jobs wouldn't cut it. He needed something big, something fast. His thoughts drifted to the auto shop, where he knew they kept the emergency cash in a lockbox. No cameras, no security, just that box, sitting in the manager's office. His stomach twisted at the thought. Stealing was never his way, But desperate times, desperate measures. He shook his head, angry at himself for even considering it. Hours passed, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jaden found himself outside the auto shop. The place was closed. No one around. He could see the faint glow from the manager's office through the side window. His hands trembled as he pushed the door, knowing it would be locked. It didn't budge. He cursed under his breath. A sound caught his attention, a car engine revving around the corner. He ducked behind the dumpster as a sleek black car pulled up. The driver, a man in a sharp suit, stepped out talking on his phone. Jaden could hear snippets of the conversation. The shipment's late again. If that money doesn't come through, we're screwed. Just make sure it's on time next week. Something didn't sit right. Jaden peered out from his hiding spot, eyes narrowing as he saw the man unlock the office door and step inside. His instinct screamed that this wasn't just about auto parts. He moved closer, catching glimpses of boxes labeled with strange symbols, things that didn't belong in a car shop. He knew it was risky, but curiosity gnawed at him. Waiting for the man to leave, Jaden slipped inside, moving like a shadow. His fingers grazed the lockbox, his mind racing with fear and temptation. He could just take enough to get by, just a little. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hall. Jaden froze, heart thundering in his chest. The man had returned, and with him, another guy, taller and bulkier, carrying a gun. "You sure nobody's sniffing around here?" the tall man growled. "Positive. We keep it quiet, no heat. Boss doesn't want any attention." Jaden's palms grew sweaty. He knew he was trapped, but he couldn't let himself get caught. He ducked behind a pile of boxes, straining to hear more. The tall guy tapped the lockbox. "Money's all here. We move it tomorrow night." Jaden's heart pounded even harder. He wasn't just dealing with theft. He'd stumbled into something much darker. Drugs? Smuggling? He wasn't sure. But whatever it was, it meant danger. He needed to get out before they found him. Taking a shaky breath, Jaden waited for the men to leave, then slipped out the back door, his mind racing. The risk had been too great, but now he knew something far bigger was happening at that shop, and his desperation to protect his family had almost cost him his freedom. As he made his way home, the reality hit him hard. He had nearly destroyed his life trying to save it. His family needed him safe, not risking everything for a few bills. The resolve in his chest hardened. He would fight, but he would do it the right way. And as the night swallowed the city, Jaden knew one thing for sure. He wasn't giving up. Not now. Not ever. He would find another way. Jaden sat on the edge of his bed, his hands shaking as he rubbed his forehead. The weight of his choices suffocated him. Just hours ago, he'd been ready to risk everything, his freedom, his dignity, all for the desperate hope of providing for his family. The dim light from the bedside lamp flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch toward him like judgmental fingers. Maya's soft breathing from the other room was the only sound breaking the oppressive silence. Jaden looked over at his wife, Keisha, who had fallen asleep sitting up on the worn-out couch, her face still stained with tears. He felt a sharp stab of guilt at how close he'd come to throwing everything away. "What was I thinking?" he whispered, his voice cracking under the weight of regret. Just then, Maya's tiny feet padded into the room, her teddy bear clutched tightly in her arms. She looked up at him, her big, innocent eyes full of concern. "Daddy? Are you okay?" Jaden forced a smile, kneeling down to pull her into his arms. He buried his face in her hair, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. "Yeah, baby girl, I'm okay. Just thinking about how lucky I am to have you and Mommy." Maya pulled back, her tiny hand resting on his cheek. "You're not gonna leave us, right?" The question hit him like a freight train, guilt coiling tighter around his chest. He hugged her closer, kissing the top of her head. "Never, baby. I'm never leaving you. I promise." The thought of what he almost did haunted him. He couldn't bear the idea of Maya visiting him through bulletproof glass, or worse, growing up without a father. He had to be better. He had to fight smarter, not recklessly. As dawn crept through the window, Keisha stirred awake, blinking sleep from her eyes. When she saw Jaden holding Maya, she gave a tired but relieved smile. "Did you sleep at all?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "I couldn't. I almost did something real stupid tonight, something that could have destroyed everything." Keisha moved closer, resting her hand on his shoulder. "You're here. That's what matters. You didn't do it." Jaden exhaled shakily, the guilt still gnawing at him. "But I thought about it. I almost risked everything we have just to keep a roof over our heads. I can't believe how close I came to losing myself." Keisha squeezed his hand, giving him a reassuring look. "You're human, Jaden. You're trying to protect your family. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you a man who cares. But we'll get through this. Together. No shortcuts." A newfound determination sparked in Jaden's eyes. He wasn't going to let his family down, not now, not ever. He rose to his feet, wiping his face, and nodded to himself. "You're right. I'm not giving up. I'll find another way. I'm done letting fear make my choices for me." In the following days, Jaden hit the streets with newfound resolve, applying for jobs, reaching out to old friends for leads, and even offering to do handyman work around the neighborhood. He pushed himself harder than he ever had before, driven by the memory of Maya's worried eyes and Keisha's unwavering support. One afternoon, as he was fixing a neighbor's broken fence, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Hesitant, he answered. "Mr. Hill, this is Thomas Willis from Willis Construction. I got your application. We could use a hard-working guy like you. Can you start Monday?" Jaden froze, hardly daring to believe his ears. "Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much." After ending the call, he couldn't help but let out a triumphant laugh, pumping his fist in the air. When he rushed home to tell Keisha, she threw her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. "See? I knew you'd find a way. I'm so proud of you." Jaden hugged her tight, his heart swelling with gratitude and relief. He kissed Maya's forehead, his heart bursting with love and determination. "No more shortcuts," he whispered to himself. "I'll fight the right way from now on." Sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones fought within ourselves. Jaden's story is a reminder that desperation can cloud judgment, but true strength lies in choosing the right path, even when it seems impossible. Never lose hope, and never give up on the ones you love. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience and redemption. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever faced a situation where giving up seemed easier than fighting on? Share your thoughts below.